Hey guys, welcome back to Loop Hub. Today we'll talk about the most disgusting moments on Dr. Pimple Popper that made us shudder. Let's head into it. Number 1. Duke. Dr. Sandra Lee addressed the messiest lipoma she'd ever seen on this week's episode of Dr. Pimple Popper. A lipoma is a fat-filled lump that forms between a person's muscles and skin over time. According to the Mayo Clinic, while these lumps aren't malignant, they do feel uncomfortable and can be painful for some people. Lipomas can be surgically removed. If this is the case, Lee excised a lipoma that had been growing on Paul Duke's neck for 10 years. Duke, 51, of Waller, Texas, said the growth began as a little knot on his neck when he was approximately 15 years old. Duke said he began to feel pain approximately 10 years ago as a result of a problem with his sciatic nerve, which goes down a person's neck into their legs. Doctors prescribed a course of steroids, which he said he took for a year, on and off, for 2 weeks at a time. Duke observed his hump getting bigger and bigger after starting the steroids, he added. Duke said the hump was the size of a softball 4 years ago, but it had grown to 3 softballs by the time he was recording the episode. When Duke asked his doctors about the increasing tumor, they dismissed him and stated it was nothing, according to Duke. Duke ultimately stopped taking the steroids, and his sciatica went away, but the big hump persisted, limiting his range of motion and making him the target of ridicule from friends and strangers. Duke claimed that because of his hump, he was dubbed the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Worse, the expansion put his and others' safety at jeopardy. Duke, an RV delivery driver who works with huge vehicles, claimed his hump made it impossible for him to move his head and neck to check his blind spot when changing lanes, so he had to turn his entire body, almost hitting cars in front of him in the process. Duke expressed his idea about why the lump became so huge at Lee's office. It was due to the steroids he was taking. Buffalo humps are common in persons who take steroids for medical reasons. This is because steroid use causes body fat to be redistributed to the head and neck. When fat builds up, it can cause a hump-like appearance. While that could be the case, Lee believes this growth is a lipoma, but she would have to cut it open to be sure. Number 2. 9-pound lump. Lipomas are fat-filled growths that reside between a person's muscle layer and skin layer were featured in the first 2 episodes of Dr. Pimple Popper Season 3, and the 3rd episode was no exception. Dr. P, whose real name is Sandra Lee, treated a man named Inoki who had a big lipoma linked to his upper right arm during the 43-minute episode. Inoki, a 51-year-old Sacramento resident who lives with his wife and children, first saw the lump 8 or 9 years ago when it was roughly the size of a golf ball. He figured the bump would go away on its own if he left it alone. Then, according to Inoki, it grew to the size of a softball, though it appeared to viewers to be far larger. Inoki, a Fijian native, was unable to pursue his favorite activity, Fijian traditional dancing, due to the magnitude of the growth. It hurts my shoulder, and it bothers me emotionally, but I know there's nothing I can do about it, he explained, adding that he instead supports his community by teaching younger people how to dance. Nonetheless, Inoki's son expressed his disappointment at seeing his father sitting on the sidelines, rather than participating in his passion for dance. Inoki saw a few different physicians over the years regarding the bulge, and while none of them could diagnose him, they all warned him that it could be cancerous. Inoki, on the other hand, was never given a biopsy to see if their concerns were right. I was terrified of finding out whether they were correct, he said. Inoki felt it was time to take control of his health and see Dr. P after nearly a decade of dealing with a softball-sized bump. When Lee met him at her office, she was able to calm Inoki's fears about the potentially malignant lesion. She began by stroking the growth and examining it. Lee described it as heavy, but said that it moved around under Inoki's skin, indicating that it was most likely benign, because malignant growths are hard and immobile. If something is adherent or adhered to your body, that's a terrible sign. She also thought that the fact that Inoki had the bump for more than a decade and appeared healthy was a good sign. Lee then decided it was time to cut the lump apart and confirm her suspicions that it was a lipoma. Lipomas usually grow slowly and are modest, with a diameter of around 2 inches. However, according to Lee, some lipomas become so huge that they begin to dangle off the body, as was the situation with Inoki. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.